Thank you, Your Honor. Professor Foley, as you have sat with us in this trial, there has been some things. Were you here for the opening?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you just said.
Sorry, pardon me. Were you here for the opening?
I was.
Okay. And you remember there was this business about how Gawker had published, I believe it was nude photographs of a member of the British royalty, Kate Middleton. Remember that?
How do you remember?
Yeah. And for your part, you talked about that in your report, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. As you were trying to assess Gawker and what it was about, one of the things that you found, should we say, troubling, was that they had published photographs of Kate Middleton, sunbathing nude, correct?
Sunbathing topless, yes.
Topless. Fair enough. Now, as you considered that issue, were you aware that these photographs had been published by other media?
I am.
Okay. So you knew that the French magazine Closer had published these topless photographs of Kate Middleton?
I knew it was a French magazine, yes.
Okay. And did you know that the Italian magazine Chi published more of these topless photographs?
I was not aware of that.
Weren't aware of that. Did you know that the Danish tabloid Og Hor published more of these photographs?
No.
No. And did you know that the web publisher Ego Testi published all of these photographs?
No.
No. No. So I take it you did not look into the extent of the publication of these photographs of Ms. Middleton by other media in doing your expert analysis.
I looked at the photographs as Gawker published them, yes.
That's what you looked at, right?
Yes.
Okay. And now, this article about Gawker publishing Kate Middleton photographs, how did that find its way to you? Was that one of the things that Mr. Harder sent to you and asked you to look at?
I believe it was among the material, yes.
Yeah. So the stuff you looked at, you didn't go to the Gawker site and do a big survey of your own, did you?
I did look at the Gawker site.
You did?
Yes.
But all those articles you told us about, many of the things you discuss in your report, they were provided to you by Mr. Harder's folks, weren't they?
Many of it, yes.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say that most of it was provided by Mr. Harder? Fair to say?
Probably.
Yeah, okay. All right. Now, doesn't the fact that these photographs of Ms. Middleton had been widely distributed factor into the decision for an editor whether he or she is going to publish them?
It might be a factor, but it shouldn't be your decision-making. You should make your own decisions. You should not allow other publications to make the decision for your publications. I think that's a path to potentially wrongdoing.
Wrongdoing. So that would lead one down the road of ruin, right?
I don't think I'd be that.
You wouldn't go that far.
That's a little far, yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Let me ask you this. When you were explaining to folks why you did that Demi Moore naked photograph in your paper, well, let's go back to Kate Middleton for a minute. People were talking about those photographs, weren't they, Professor?
I'm sure they were.
You bet. And it was news, wasn't it? This business about Kate Middleton,
It
topless.
was news. Yes,
It was news.
And the fact that the photographer shot the pictures was news.
Okay. And I take it you would agree with us that Kate Middleton is, as a member of the royal family, that she is herself a celebrity.
Correct.
She is a celebrated public figure, isn't she?
What? I'm sorry, I missed the word, the verb.
Sorry, very sorry. She is a celebrated public figure, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, these were the very factors that you're sitting in the driver's seat, that you found persuasive in deciding to publish a nude photograph of Demi Moore, right?
They were, but I think that if you go back to the code here, one of the highlighted areas, avoid pandering to lurid curiosity, even if others do. Just one of the things I would live by as an editor.
And, okay, and you wanted me to know that, right?
I'm sorry?
You wanted me to know that you wanted to go back to the code? I wasn't asking you about the code. I'm trying to get through the rest of this.
Okay.
But you wanted me to know that. That's fine. All right? I take it you would agree that my client, Gawker, is not breaking new ground by publishing unauthorized nude photographs of royalty, right?
I'm not sure what you mean by breaking new ground.
Okay, you're not publishing naked photographs of members of the royal family. This isn't somehow out there on the frontier, is it?
I'm not sure I understand that.
Okay, again, I will endeavor to make this more concrete.
Please.
Okay. You are aware that nude photographs of Prince Henry from a wild visit to Las Vegas were published. You remember that, right?
Yes, I do vaguely, yes.
Okay. Did you see Prince Henry engaged in a game of strip billiards? Did you see those photographs?
I think so.
Okay.
I remember the incident. I think I did, yes.
Okay. All right. You know what I'm talking about.
I know the incident, yes.
Sure. Did you see the compromising photographs of Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York?
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Yes, indeed. Let me see if this helps you. Remember that photograph that showed her topless and there was some business about somebody like sucking someone's toes? Do you remember that whole thing?
Vaguely,
Does that help
yes.
you?
I do remember the incident, yes.
Okay. Now, when you prepared your report that we've been looking at, did you take into account the long history of publishing nude photographs of royalty when you did your expert analysis for us in this case?
I may have.
You may. All right. Let me ask you this. This article that was published in Gawker involving Kate Middleton, that came to you from Mr. Harder as well, didn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, you didn't go out and find that one on your own, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. Now, you talked yesterday about news stories and news stories that involve surreptitious photography, where the media, you were telling us, well, the media in that case, they wrote a story about somebody being filmed surreptitiously, but they didn't publish the video. You remember that?
Think so?
Yeah, you told us about stories where people were showering or,
Yes.
Remember that? Okay. Now, if we could look at one of your examples, and if you want to look there on page, for my copy, it's page 6 of your report.
Okay.
Would you like me to help you find it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Just
Okay. Sir, do you have the page there?
I believe so. It's the last June, the Los Angeles Times. Is that where you're?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You see there, you point out in your report that you talk about an LA Times report about a worker who was secretly recording young dancers in a dressing room. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. And your point there was, well, they reported the story, but they didn't show any of this video of these young dancers, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you contact, you, Professor Foley, did you contact the LA Times to determine if those reporters actually had any video that was taken by this man in their possession?
I did not.
Okay. If you would look further down in that portion of your report, you make a reference, you talk about, you make a broad reference to Florida media outlets, right? It's below the part we just looked at. In fact, you say, in fact, the archives of the Tampa Bay Times and other Florida media outlets contain numerous stories about men being arrested for filming women in restrooms or in the dressing room of a clothing store. And as far as I know, nobody published the footage. And based on my experience, I feel certain that none of those videos was even considered for publication. Do you see that?
I do. You left out the word secretly before filming, but yes.
Oh, all right. You are correct. You're saying contain numerous stories about men being arrested for secretly filming women in restrooms or in dressing rooms.
That is correct.
Thank you. Now, let me ask you this. Can you tell us which, if any, of these other Florida media outlets you're referring to in that paragraph actually had the secretly filmed video in its possession?
I don't know.
No idea.
No.
Okay? So you offer them to us as examples of good journalism and self-restraint, but you don't know if these media outlets had the video. You don't know what they'd have done if they had the video, do you?
I'm pretty sure I know what they'd done if they'd had the video.
Pretty sure. Let me ask you this. Did you bother to call up these various media outlets and probe this? Do a little investigation. Say, hey, what'd you have? Did you do that?
I didn't think it was necessary, no.
You did. Okay. All right. Again, let us try to make this concrete, all right? In your view, I take it that no reputable news outlet would publish excerpts from the Hulk Hogan sex tape, right?
Excerpts. What excerpts from the 30-minute tape? Excerpts from the minute and 41-second tape?
Either one.
I just can't imagine it now.
Can't imagine. Cannot imagine. Professor Foley, I take it you are familiar with ABC Action News on WFTS. Are you familiar with that station?
Is that the local ABC affiliate? I don't know the call
Yes, sir.
letters.
Yes, sir. Serving the greater Tampa, St. Petersburg area. You're familiar
Yes.
with that. Now, that ABC affiliate broadcasts the news several times each day, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Does a report in the morning, does one at noon, does an early and a late evening broadcast, right?
I don't live here anymore, but I assume that's correct.
Okay. All right. And I take it, in your judgment, you would consider that a respectable news organization.
As far as I know.
Okay. And I take it you would agree that they are a reputable news outlet, right?
As far as I know.
Okay. Professor Foley, let us take a look at a clip from a October 15, 2012 ABC Action News broadcast. Tim, if you could play clip D266B.
It's this sex tape that has Hulk Hogan emotionally on the ropes.
Mr. Hogan had no knowledge that he was being videotaped. He did not consent to the taping.
In this 6-year-old video, you can see the wrestling star engaged in consensual sex with Heather Clem. Clem, at the time, was married to Hogan's best friend, Bubba, the Love Sponge. In a press conference Monday, Hogan's attorneys say the Clems knowingly took the video and leaked it in an attempt to make money.
The actions of the defendant was illegal. It was outrageous.
Gawker is an online news site where a 60-second portion of the sex tape was posted for all the world to see last month.
He is not someone that is going to allow himself to be victimized.
Hogan's attorneys say they repeatedly asked Gawker to take the video down. They didn't. Now comes this warning to anyone else who decides to post or distribute the tape.
If you do so, we have plenty of room on the front page of this complaint to add your name.
All right? Now, Professor Foley, that ABC News broadcast reported on the Hulk Hogan sex video, right?
Yes?
Okay? And it reported on the press conference that was held by Mr. Belea's counsel, right?
Yes?
Okay. And it included excerpts from the Hulk Hogan sex video, right?
I just saw it.
Okay. And you recognize some of those excerpts, I take it?
Yes?
Okay. What did you observe?
I'm not sure what I saw, but I saw parts of the sex tape.
Okay. As you watched that, did you observe Heather Clem laying on her canopy bed?
I couldn't see it from that excerpt who was there.
Okay. You couldn't make it out?
No.
All right. Did you see Mr. Belea?
I saw the back of Mr. Belea, yes.
Okay. You saw the back. Did you see the part where it looked like he was kind of leaning over toward Ms. Clem?
Yes.
Okay. And when you say you saw the back of Mr. Belea, did it appear to you that you saw his bare bottom?
I couldn't tell from that clip, but I did watch the sex tape. There was a scene like that in the tape.
Okay. Anything else that you observed from that clip?
I'm not sure what you mean.
I'm not trying to tell you I got a whole complete list. I'm just making sure. That's what I observed. Okay.
That's what I saw.
I just want to know if there's anything else you observed that you cared to share with me.
No. That's
Okay. Fair enough. Now, WTFS included those excerpts as part of its news report on the filing of this lawsuit, right?
Apparently, yes.
Okay. And I take it you would agree that ABC Action News, in the exercise of its own editorial judgment, determined that those brief excerpts that we all just looked at were news, right?
Apparently.
Okay. In their editorial judgment, they determined that it was appropriate to share with viewers in this community that portion of the sex tape, right?
As part of a story about the lawsuit, yes.
Okay. Now, we put you in the driver's seat. We put you in the seat of decision. I take it you might have made a different judgment, right?
I might have.
Okay. Were these folks at ABC Action News, were they being bad journalists based on the judgment that they made to run that story?
What's bad journalist?
Well, that's what you've been telling us about for the better part of the day, right?
Mischaracterized testimony.
Sure, sure.
Excuse me.
Let's do it this way. Did ABC, Action News, did they breach that code of professional, the SBJ code that you've been telling us about?
It's their, excuse me. I'm a frog in my throat.
Pardon?
They published lurid material, but not the most lurid parts of it. Those are very general parts of it. There was no sex act involved, but they did publish part of a tape. I would not have done it.
Okay. My question, sir, was more precise. I asked you, did they violate the SPJ code when they ran that store?
I think they went a bit over the line, yes.
Can you answer me? Try your level best. Can you give me a yes or no?
I just said yes. I said they went over the line, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Pardon. Let us do this. Let us move forward again. And, pardon me, let's look briefly at Defendant's Exhibit 110, which is a piece that you and I looked at when we were together for your deposition. This is a piece that appeared in the St. Petersburg Times, and I will apologize to you because this is back in the day we had newsprint, so this is from the morgue, I think you called it, at the paper, right?
The library, yes.
Okay, there you go. If you would look at an article that appears there in the left-hand column, it says, "Final hearing on lap dancing creates a buzz." Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. Do you remember us discussing this together at your deposition?
Yes, kind of.
Yeah, okay. I'll just see if this refreshes your recollection. The article is about a city council hearing on an ordinance to impose new restrictions on lap dancing in the community, right?
It appears to be, yes.
Yeah. And what the article does, it reports on an undercover police deal where they secretly filmed the goings-on in these clubs, right?
It's been a while since I read it, but I believe that to be true.
Okay, that's fair.
I'll take your word for it.
That's fair. Let's look at the second page of the exhibit. This is like an eye test, okay?
I'm failing.
Okay. The paragraph, and you tell me, I'll read it to you, and you can read it.
I can see it, yes.
That might be easier. The city has produced an explicit videotape from police undercover arrests. The tape shocked a gathering of local clergy Monday, as well as council members who received private viewings Tuesday and Wednesday. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. And the story continues on. The next graph says, quote, "The tape shows repeated close-ups of female genitalia. It appears to show women engaged in oral sex on stage. Nude dancers wrap their legs around customers' heads. In one case, a radio-controlled truck with a sex toy attached to the front is directed between a performer's legs. The tape will be played at the meeting this afternoon." Do you see that?
Yes.
Now, when we met in March, I asked you if that violated the Cheerios test. And you told me that, well, such a graphic description was pretty close to the line, right?
I believe so.
I take it that would continue to be your judgment today.
It's close.
Okay, all right. Now, this article ran with a photograph.
What was the date of this?
Yes, sir. The date is, if you go back to the front page, you'll see under the banner, Thursday, December 2nd, 1999. All right. If you would go, please, second page. And you will see depicted at the top of the page a photograph. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. And again, it's not the best of copies, but the photograph appears to depict two women who are nude and they are embracing, it would appear kissing. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. Now, when the St. Petersburg Times published this photograph, it was because the editors considered it to be news, right?
I assume.
Okay. In fairness to you, you were no longer at the paper at this juncture, were you?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Now, do you think with this photograph of the two nude women, would your paper's editors, would they consider the privacy of these women before publishing their photograph?
Perhaps, but this was, they were performing.
Okay.
They were being paid to perform for an audience.
Okay. But what these editors would grapple with, they would consider the news value of a photograph like this, and if they decided to publish it, I take it we would agree that in their judgment, they thought it outweighed the privacy of the nude women, partly because they chose to conduct themselves that way publicly, right? Wouldn't you think that's part of what they were factoring in?
You use the word privacy and in public in the same sentence.
Right, right. I was asking you, when these news editors are grappling with this question, are we going to put this in the paper? Are we going to expose these women naked, embracing and kissing and all this business? They're looking and they're making a judgment, well, like, geez, most probably these women would not wish to have this out and about, right? And what they would do is they'd take all that into account to make the judgment that this is something our readers should see, right? It's all part of the news calculus, the editorial judgment.
Obviously, the editors thought that was important, but there is no privacy issue here.
Okay, and there you go. You explained to me in your deposition, you said to me, I don't know that these women haven't given up their rights of privacy by dancing naked in front of a bunch of people. That's what you told me, right?
I'll take your word for it, yes. Sounds like me.
If you ever do not wish to take my word for it,
No, I
got your deposition.
I recall that.
We can.
I recall that.
Okay, fair enough. Now, you also explained to me that consent, I asked you about consent. Do you think these ladies consented to this? And you said, well, consent. That would be much less of an issue because nobody's identifiable, right?
I'm not sure I said it quite that way. I don't think I was quite that dismissive of it.
All right.
But I assume that was, I believe that to be true.
Okay, all right. If this story, this one we've been looking at here, if this story were published today in the online version of a paper, the editors could provide a link to the video, right?
I don't know whether they had the video.
Well, it was shown, we know from the first couple paragraphs we looked at of the article, we know that it was shown at a public meeting. They called the pastors in, they played it for them, they called the council members in, they played it for them, right?
Yes, that's apparently true.
There you go. Professor Foley, it was a public record at that time, wasn't it?
It had been shown at a public meeting, yes.
Okay, there
But
you go.
I don't know whether the newspaper had access to the video.
Okay, that's a fair point.
That's a screenshot.
There you go. Let us assume that what they did is, as diligent reporters, they go over there and they get a copy of the video, all right? So now they have it, it's been shown publicly. They, in their editorial judgment, could decide to include portions of that video in an online report, right?
The verb being could?
Could.
I suppose they could.
Sure. And what they could do is they could publish this story that we've all been looking at. And then they have a part where they say, like, look, this is pretty strong stuff. But it was shown at a public meeting. You can click on it and see portions for yourself if you so choose. They could do that, right?
Operative word being could.
Here you go. And give some kind of trigger warning to folks about what they are to see if they were to go and pursue the video and see the portion online, right?
Could, yes.
Okay, fair enough. Now, yesterday, when you were giving us your opinion, you indicated that one of the things that troubled you or concerned you is that the folks at Gawker did not investigate the source of the tape. You recall that testimony?
Yes,
Yes.
they admitted that.
Right. They're not hiding that, are they? They're not hiding that, are they? No. You indicated that you didn't think that they, meaning the defendants, were seeking the truth, right? You told us that.
They did not they didn't seem to care that much about where the tape came from.
And that concerns you, right?
As a journalist,
Okay. Now, there wasn't anything inaccurate in what Gawker wrote, was there?
you mean the story?
Yes, sir.
I did not watch all 31 minutes of the tape, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's focus on the story that they posted. You didn't find anything inaccurate in that, right?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. Well, let's put a finer point. Of all the things that Mr. Balea is here with us today complaining about, he's not complaining that he was defamed, is he? He's not saying they wrote a false story about me. They got these facts wrong. That's not his beef, right? You understand that, right?
I don't believe that's the issue.
Exactly. That's not the issue. What he's complaining is that these people invaded my privacy, right?
As I understand it.
Yeah. And the whole point of privacy is not that you made up something about me that was false. If that's your beef, you sue for defamation, don't you? You teach this to your students, right?
Yes?
Yeah. And the premise of a privacy beef is, hey, you published something about me that it was private. It was something I was keeping to myself, right?
It was secretly recorded.
Right. Now, you as an old-time journalist, you are familiar with the term over the transom, right?
I didn't hear the last part. Your voice tends to fade.
No,
Sorry.
and I'm getting tired.
Oh,
I apologize. You're getting tired too.
I understand completely.
We should get closer, and with the faded voices, we can finish
We can
this.
agree on that, too.
There you go. All right. Sorry.
It's okay.
So my question was, you are familiar with the old journalistic term, over the transom.
I've heard it.
Okay. Let's make it plain. For journalists, it talks about the days when somebody wanted to get information to the newspaper. They wanted to get information to a columnist. So what they would do is they would take perhaps a document that showed that the mayor was taking bribes, or they would take some other material, a transcript of some hearing that was off the record. They put it in a manila envelope, and they put it over the transom. Now, there's a term that, too, is seen a day. Remember when they had that old, basically like a window above the door? Like the Sam Spade movies. And they
Vaguely from my
drop that
youth,
over,
yes.
right? And the whole point is that material could be gotten to a journalist, news entity, and it basically bore no fingerprints. You didn't know where it came from. You're familiar with that, right?
It's happened.
Yeah, sure. Now, when that happens, What the journalist has to be careful about, what the journalist is concerned about, is that the material be authentic. You know what I mean by that?
That it is real, that it's truthful.
That it's real, okay? In other words, that it's not ginned up. That somebody who's got it in for the mayor didn't concoct a document that is not what it purports to be and slip it to the journalist. That's our concern, right?
Yes.
Now, but that is not a concern in this case, is it? Not a concern here.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay. Again, I'll try to make it more concrete.
Please.
There is no question before us in this case that the people on that video are Terry Bollea and Heather Clem, right?
I believe that's been made clear.
Exactly. And that is not why he's suing, right? He's not coming and saying, I wasn't even in that sex tape. It was ginned up. Somebody made it up. They got body doubles doing this business. That's not why we're here, is it?
I don't believe so.
No. We're here because it is him in the video, right?
Yes.
No one said otherwise. No one is disputing authenticity, right?
I don't believe so.
No. So when you say, well, Gawker didn't do this and they didn't do that, well, they got it what their story said. We got a sex video of this gentleman and this woman, and we're going to do a story about it. We're going to post portions of it. None of that's false, is it?
False? No.
No. All right. Now, Professor, I take it you would agree that the media in this country is diverse, right?
Yes.
Is that a good thing?
Yes, in many ways.
It is. And you would agree, I take it, that the media in this country speak with a broad range of voices, right?
That was the original concept by Thomas Jefferson.
There you go. That is where we started, right?
I'm sorry?
That is where we started,
You mean the beginning of the Constitution?
with that concept by Thomas Jefferson, right?
Correct.
And I take it, as a journalist, you would agree that it has served us well to date, right?
Overall, for democracy, I would agree.
Okay. Now, when we talk about journalism, I take it you would agree that journalism encompasses a broad and diverse swath of publications, right?
Yes.
Okay. In your expert opinion, does the National Enquirer practice journalism?
In many cases, yes.
Okay. In your expert opinion, does Hustler magazine, for its part, practice journalism?
I don't believe I've ever read Hustler magazine.
Okay. So you would prefer not to speak to that, I take it?
I've never read it.
All
I
right.
know about it. I've read of it.
All right. Let me ask you this. In your opinion, does TMZ practice journalism?
Tell stories, yes.
Okay. And how about supermarket tabloids? They practice journalism?
It doesn't seem to be the focus. It's mostly gossip.
Well, I think what you're telling us again is when you apply your taste, right, it's not your cup of tea, is it?
It's correct.
Okay. It's not how you would care to spend your time, right?
I don't want to read made-up stories, no.
Okay. But they're not all made up, are they?
I don't know.
It's just I think what you're telling me is that is not something that interests me. I don't really care about what this celebrity's doing or who that celebrity is dating. It's not your thing, is it?
That is correct.
Okay. would you agree that all of these folks we've been talking about, the broad and diverse range of journalists and the broad and diverse range of voices, would you agree that all those people are protected by our First Amendment? Mr. Foley, do you have my question presently in mind?
Would you please reread it, if you don't mind?
Yes. When we talk, I don't know that I can restate it exactly, but I'll see if I can get us back to the same place in the room, okay? When we talk about the broad and diverse swath of journalists out there, right? With a variety, a host of views, right? We've got people who are doing gossip columns, not your cup of tea.
Right.
We've got people who are doing stories on the presidential election, right?
Yes.
Okay. And we have folks writing about all points in between.
Correct.
Okay. In your expert opinion, are all of those publishers guaranteed the same rights under our First Amendment?
I don't know that there is such a publication, but if there were a publication that featured child pornography, I don't believe it would be.
Okay, so, all right, so we understand one another, so you accept that out, right?
Except,
We're going to take that out of our question, right?
okay.
Okay. Now, go back to the ones that I was asking you about. Gossip columnists, National Enquirer, TMZ, right? Ranging up to the New York Times, that whole range. Are all those folks protected by the First Amendment?
I believe they all operate under the freedom of the press, yes.
There you go. They're all under the protective umbrella of our Constitution, right?
Of the amendment to the Constitution, yes.
Okay. Now, from sitting here talking with you this morning and listening to what you said about the Society for Professional Journalists and its code, I take it that when you exercise your judgment, when you apply your taste, some of these people I've been talking about, right? Gossip columnists. You would say to me, Mr. Sullivan, these are not, they're journalists, but in your judgment, they're not good journalists, right?
I think that might have to be a case-by-case basis, but you said some of them are not.
Okay.
I agree.
But even folks that are out there practicing or trying to practice the craft of journalism that you wouldn't follow, you wouldn't read their stuff, they too are protected under our First Amendment, even if you don't think they're doing good journalism, right?
Freedom of the press.
All right. Sir, thank you for your attention. Appreciate it.